I woke one day to find a yellow mark on my back, and I had no idea where it came from, but it freaked me out. I tried washing it and scrubbing it off, but nothing worked. I couldn't figure out at the time how it appeared on me. I work at a supermarket for 5 years now, and I am nearing my 30s, and life doesn't seem so bright for me. Things seem to be going downhill. I had asked some of my friends about the yellow scar on my back, and none of them could guess what it is. And even my doctor just told me that it was nothing. I couldn't help but think that it wasn't just nothing, and that it had to mean something. One theory I had was that maybe somebody broke into my flat very quietly and put the mark on my back. It's a scary thought to think but I would have heard something, and I would have easily been awakened if somebody did break into my flat. I started to feel very distracted, and I felt like something was watching me and following me around, but I couldn't put into terms as to what it actually was. I started to struggle with sleeping, and I would stare at the ceiling at night, and by luck I would eventually fall asleep. In daylight I started getting short, freaky headaches, and I would hear things like a grown man with a child voice speaking to me, like saying, "Hello, I would like to interview you." And when it stopped, the pain would go away, and my eyes would start watering. Sometimes while awake, it's like my vision went weary, and I swear I saw a large monster-like creature with a human head attached to it, and it would say to me, "Hello, I would like to interview you," and the pain surging through my mind to only come back to reality and annoyed customers waiting for me to serve them. I had no idea what was happening, or if I had some sort of disease of the brain, and I was praying to God that it wasn't cancer. The night that changed everything happened on one of my days off, and I was in bed thinking about everything, and then it all went dark, and I could see a face of a middle-aged man who seemed disabled with a monster, alien-like body, and was sitting on a chair. I too was sitting on a chair, and this thing in front of me was staring at me and said to me in a childlike voice, "Hello, I would like to interview you, and I am the one who marked you as I am interested in your life." And I replied hesitantly, "Oh, okay," as I was so scared I didn't dare to say no in case of angering it. "What do you do with your life?" the thing asked. "I work at a supermarket," I replied. "What was your childhood like?" the thing asked me. "It was okay," I replied. "I am enjoying interviewing you. Do you have anything interesting happening in your life?" the thing asked me. "No, not really. I have a boring type of life," I replied. "Give me something interesting," the teacher replied angrily, this time its voice distorted in such a horrible, intimidating way. In that moment I somehow returned to reality, and my head in pain and my body shivering from the experience. I was sweating so much that I showed for nearly 3 hours, and I couldn't believe what just had happened. At work, I was so distracted with the managers and customers were becoming irritated with me as I was failing with the most simple of tasks. I would get messages from that thing, whatever it was, and said in that childlike voice, "I would like to carry on our interview sometime in the future, and give me something interesting." I called off sick for a few days, as I definitely needed it, and I questioned as to why it wanted to interview me, and the purpose of all this. I was just in my bed, and then everything went black, and that tall, monster, alien-like body with a human, middle-aged, disabled head attached to it, sitting in a chair, and so was I opposite of it. "Hello, welcome back," it said to me. "What is your most loved thing in the whole wide universe?" It questioned me in that childlike voice. I like to go to the cinema, and I like food," I replied hesitantly. "Do you love your life?" it asked me. Something happened to me at that moment when the creature asked if I loved my life. I wasn't so scared anymore. But honest, I replied, "No, I don't love my life. I hate it, and I hate every minute of it. I hate working in a supermarket, and I hate waking up, and the only interesting thing that happened to me in my life up to now is you interviewing me." The creature then smiled, feeling my honesty, but it replied, "Not good enough. Give me something interesting." And I was back into my world, and I was shivering and sweating, and my head in pain. I showered. I had a few more scratch marks on my body, and this time blood was visible, and I knew where they must have come from. I had to give this creature an interesting interview, but I had a very boring and dull life. I did not want to think what it would happen if I return in front of it once again without a boring story. I once tried lying to it when it brought me into that place again, but even that didn't work, and somehow that creature knew I was lying, and it was not pleased with me. It got angry, and I started to feel as something was strangling me. And then I was back into my world, with marks on my neck, and I was stuck. So in depression, to make my life interesting, I gave up my job and punched my manager in the face, as I hated him, and I threw some food packets on the floor. I also left my flat and became homeless, and when that creature did its thing and made me return to that place, it was where it's only me and it. That creature once questioned like in that childlike voice at first and said, "Anything interesting happened in your life up to now?" And I replied, "I punched my manager in the face and I quit my job and now I'm homeless." And the creature smiled and replied, "That's more like an interview. Has become interesting now. I have become somewhat of a criminal now, and the reason is so that I have always something interesting to say to the creature. And I ask for things from the creature like food and water, and it gives it to me, but never money. I always have something interesting to do. For the interview, the creature doesn't like boring interviews, and I dare not think what would happen if one became to many boring other stories."